So depending on how badly I want to get views and pump up my click-through rate, the title of this video could be many things, but essentially, they all boil down to the same video. I recently did a VOD review of my own high diamond, low masters Reinhardt with professional Overwatch coach ioStux, and I found it pretty insightful. For those who don't know, ioStux is the largest private Overwatch coach who's had experience with the Boston Uprising Academy and XL2 Academy. His links will be down below. I'll add some of my own input throughout, but aside from that, I hope you enjoy.
The first question we always need to ask ourselves is how the frick does this character actually win games? When you look at Reinhardt, ultimately the main thing that differentiates like a really, really good Reinhardt from a really, really bad Reinhardt is how fast they can get their Shatter, and then how quickly they can use it, and how much value do they actually get out of it. And that's kind of the baseline that all of our decision making revolves around. The whole point behind good shield management is that it allows us to play aggressive for longer, and we can get a bunch of ult charge from that, and then ultimately that is how we win games. Basically every single time you come back from spawn, you want to think about your ultimate. You need to look at how much you have, do you need to focus on farming it, do you need to focus on setting it up, and you need to look at the enemy team to kind of figure out how you're going to get the most value out of it. The main thing that sticks out to me here is when you look at the enemy team comp, they don't really have any flankers. They're going to be really, really stacked most of the time, which means that we can afford to be very, very greedy with our ultimate. It means we can be very, very greedy with our Firestrike, because we can probably hit 2 or 3 people with each Firestrike. And it means that it makes controlling, we can be a lot more greedy with our aggression, because when the enemy team is stacked, we know where the damage is coming from.
Just something to tack on here, their DPS should be taking angles anyway, so they shouldn't be that stacked. But the reason they play stacked is because of our Tracer. Tracer is really good at marking anyone who takes an angle and forcing them to stack back with their team, which is what happens here. But yes, Stux is generally speaking correct here.
So the enemy team is kind of setting us up very, very well for our ultimate, which is really, really important. Now, the enemy team has since switched to a dive composition, right? What does that tell us? Exactly, right? So now we need to look for smaller shatters. Previously we could be very greedy. Now shattering just one person is fine, right? If you can land a shatter on the enemy Winston, pin him into a wall and kill him, that's a really good shatter in this context. Okay, Firestrike Corners is good.
Another edit here on Firestrikes. If you yourself are struggling to land Firestrikes, or you're struggling to charge your ultimates, you need to be Firestriking Corners. Stux quite usefully describes corners as hotspots of the map, where most players will be playing around. Not to mention, Firestriking Corners doesn't really require much mechanical skill.
Aggressing on the enemy Ryan. Okay, I guess. Interesting game so far. Your main win condition here needs to be stabilized. To stabilize. Normally, yes, after you kill the Reinhardt, you want to press your advantage and you want to play aggressively. Right here, we can't afford to do that because they have a spawn advantage. When the enemy team has a spawn advantage, 1-for-1 trades are not even. They favor the team with the spawn advantage, right? Obviously, it's the exact opposite way around if you were defending last point. But right here, what you need to do is you need to maintain your shield for as long as possible, because what you want to avoid at all cost is that their Ryan comes back and you don't have any resources. You're using a bunch of your shield, like look, bam, 600 shield gone, 800 shield gone, like your entire shield is just burning away, right? And the enemy Ryan already respawned, so he's coming back from spawn now, and your shield is destroyed. You basically now don't have any resources to really, I mean, again, protect your team or hold the choke that much. If the enemy team was good, they would have just seen that, you know, your shield was down and they would apply a bunch of pressure, like right here, see? So now, you don't really have any shield. You took a bunch of damage because you don't have any shield. The enemy Ryan is coming back. He has a full shield, and your Sigma is all the way back here. And now you are completely and utterly screwed, because now you can't really mount a defense at the choke. Ideally, if you had a full shield, maybe you could still play at the choke here, and you could just stall them a little bit longer to give your Sigma time to return.
Another quick addition, by me playing close to that choke, I can charge my own Shatter or my win condition faster, again showing how by having Shatter as your focal point, the way you play fundamentally changes.
The important part is that they wouldn't have gotten through it for free, so you always need to be aware of what your win condition in any given moment is, right? So let's do that again. In this moment, what is your win condition? What needs to be on your mind?
Charge Shatter as fast as possible, probably like hold around points, hold this corner, and let the Reinhardt come to me.
Exactly. The biggest advantage, your main win condition is your ultimate, of course, right? That's always the starting point. Whenever you need to ask yourself, what am I doing here? Always start with your ultimate. And the enemy Reinhardt was dead, which means we can know with 100% certainty that we'll get our ultimate before he does his. So that is going to be our main win condition here, getting our ultimate as quickly as possible, and then landing a thick shatter. And because we analyzed the enemy team comp earlier, again, Stux the fucking future teller, look how stacked they are, right? If they were playing a more divey, flanky, farmers, whatever comp, then we wouldn't be able to greed as much with our ultimate. But against that comp, you just want to try and stay alive, get your shatter somehow, and then look for a really big shatter. So you manage to stay alive until you have your shatter. Now, these next few moments are what counts. Either you land your shatter, and then you win, or you don't. Okay. So this is an interesting choice to make. You basically had the choice between like trying to go for like kind of a gamble shatter on the right side towards squishies, or going for the Rein. So that's really good, right? The main tank is the highest value character on a team. If you had a button that could magically kill an opponent, you would always kill the enemy main tank. So now, we killed the enemy main tank. What should be on our mind now?
Walk forward, hold shield, and clean up.
Exactly. So we want to apply pressure, but we don't want to overextend. We don't want to give them an opportunity to trade us out, right? This charge was probably because you didn't know whether the Reinhardt was going to die, so I'm going to give you a pass for that. Nice Firestrike. There we go. So after you get the second kill, that's when you can kind of say, ah, fuck it, you know, this is probably safe, and you can go for swings to kind of start snowballing your ultimate. So this aggression here is really, really good. Get another Firestrike in. There we go. Perfectly. So the main mistake there on that first point is just that you gave them an opener to push through the choke because you played too aggressively in spite of them having the spawn advantage. Firestrikes around the corners are really, really nice. Whenever you have time in between fights, we want to think about what our win condition is going to be in the next fight. So now, think.
But their Reinhardt's gonna have is going to be ahead of me and Shatter.
Exactly. Very good.
I want to hold this to burn as much time off the clock as possible.
Yes.
And yeah, give up space if I need to, or retreat if we need to.
Exactly. So this is one of those fights where you need to kind of step out of the limelight a little bit. You're basically just a shatter shield bot, pretty much. You just want to try to block the enemy shatter, and most importantly, whatever you do, your main priority here needs to be to not die. So the important part here to understand is that you are so far away from your ultimate that you cannot reasonably make it your win condition. You basically don't want to take any risks, right? So for example, normally when our ultimate is our win condition, like in the previous fight, we want to Firestrike all of the time. Now, all of a sudden, Firestriking doesn't really do that much because we're so far away from our ultimate that the teamfight is going to be over before we get it, and because the enemy Rein is going to have his shatter, Firestriking is kind of a throw, you know, because we give him a free opportunity. And we can see that our team has a bunch of ultimates. So in this teamfight, our priority needs to be just staying alive, not taking any big risks, and just praying that our team is going to carry us. Okay, so see, this is very good. Normally, giving up the choke this freely would be a misplay. But given that you don't have your ultimate and he does his, right? We've established our win condition to be, you know, playing more passively. Given those circumstances, this is the correct play. Okay, unfortunately we couldn't dodge the grab. We don't really have any defensive ultimates. What would be going through your head now after you died?
Probably try and pin back the point, see if I can make it and touch in time. Again, to burn time off the clock. And if I can't, I still know he has Shatter. So I could play more passively, essentially. And
what did the enemy team do that is important to be aware of?
They popped Q.
They popped a lot of Qs. They used 4 ultimates. And using 4 ultimates to win a team fight is not really winning a team fight, it's more like borrowing the win. What are we thinking of here?
Just stay alive. Like, I don't want to be swinging at that high charge Zarya and die on point because I'm the only tank there. And my Tracers are the only ones stalling. I think it's equal right now. 3v3-ish. So yeah, that's why I'm playing so defensive.
Normally, yes. Playing safe here is okay. The main thing you need to see here is that there aren't any particular threats. 2 DPS and the main tank is significantly stronger than 2 supports and an off tank. But as you can see, the spawn advantage is starting to kick in. All of a sudden now, there's 5 people, and our team is still regrouping. We have like 4 people here in a second. So you had your opportunity earlier to close out the fight, but you didn't. you really need to be very, very decisive whenever you have a spawn disadvantage. What we want to do is we want to stay alive and get our shatter as best as we can. So right here, this is too aggressive. We don't want to do this. We just look for a Firestrike around the corner, and then we piss off. We go back to the back of point, and we want to just stall this so we can get our ultimate. Because this right here, this is a huge throw. Dying when you only have 3% on your ult left. If you would have stayed alive, you could have gotten your ultimate, and then you could have used your ultimate for something small. You know, like the ultimate didn't even have to be huge. You could have just solo shattered the Genji, pin him into a wall, and that can give your team enough time to stabilize. But not recognizing there, like you always need to know what your win condition is in a particular fight. You can't just like live in the moment, you know, oh, I'm just going to have good shield management and, you know, balance my swings and my shields and land fire strikes, and oh, when I have my ultimate, that's when I look for my ultimate. It's important to know here that ideally they want to snowball, okay? And that does two things. Either they're good and they actually do what they're supposed to, which means we can play around it, right? If we know that they want to snowball here, they probably want to take the high ground, then maybe we need to be careful about playing too aggressively, or else we'll get run over and they can snowball even harder. And on the flip side, if we know what they should be doing, in this case snowball, and we see that they don't do it, we can flip the tables around. So we know that they want to snowball and take the high ground. If we notice that they, for some fucking reason, don't do that, which, again, this isn't super duper high elo yet, people don't always know what they're supposed to do after winning a fight, then we can recognize that as an opportunity. The enemy team is currently not snowballing, right? So this, look at this. This man, Zahnpastor, he needs ioStux coaching. And look what you're doing, right? Again, you probably didn't think about this in the game, but if they don't take the high ground, fuck it, we'll take it, you know? Their loss is our gain. So it's really, really good that you start playing the high ground here to kind of incentivize your team to play here. And we have our Shatter, so that's still going to be our main win condition. So we want to see if we can find an opportunity with that. We can just chill here. Ooh, we are going in. So what was going through your head here?
I wanted to stop cart moving, essentially.
If the enemy is defeating himself, don't disrupt. Which basically translates to let them feed. So again, that's why it's so important that we are aware of our win condition. Our win condition here is our Shatter. Jumping on the cart and contesting it, sure, you're contesting the cart, but how does that win you the team fight? So we need to kind of sacrifice, you know, letting them push the cart and just wait until they do something stupid. Like even something as simple as right here, the enemy Hammond goes in, he gets slapped and naded. Where's our pin?
Yeah.
Where's our charge, right? Literally, if you had, like, the patience of a fucking goldfish, then you would have gotten a free kill on this Hammond. So, right here, we need to kind of think about our win condition. The problem is that solo shattering someone here is, first of all, not going to win us the fight. And then more importantly, you are playing very aggressively here. At this point, you need to realize that even if you land a shatter, you're probably going to die in the process. So even if we pretend for a second that you killed the soldier, who would you rather have on your team alive? Your main tank or a fucking diamond DPS? So that play was too aggressive. Instead, what we should have done is we want to wait and let our team stabilize a little bit. Again, you can give up card progress. It's okay. But you need to be patient. You need to actually have a plan in your head. How am I going to win here? Am I going to win with my Shatter? Am I going to win off of someone's CC, like a sleep or a hook? But because we wasted our Shatter earlier, and that Shatter didn't have any chances of winning a fight for damaging ultimates like Reinhardt's ultimate, it's really important that we win the fights in which we ult in, because then you can get most of your ultimate back, like you can charge up a lot of your next ultimate by cleaning up the first fight. But if we use our ultimate and then we lose the fight, that puts us into a really, really tough spot, because then for the next 1 or 2 team fights, we're basically just busy, you know, fire striking, trying to get a new ultimate, and we can't really get that snowball going. Overwatch is a very, very momentum-based game. So yeah, right here we can't really do anything except fire strike and chill. But again, it doesn't matter because they're just snowballing. We don't have our ultimate to disrupt here at all. So that fight wasn't winnable. Again, the best thing you can do in situations like this is just try to stay alive as long as possible. Not even pushing up there, just staying in the back, fire striking on cooldown. When the Winston or the Hammond go in, you go for a few swings. That is pretty much it. So now we almost have our ultimate. That missed Firestrike is a bit unfortunate. Okay. They have a Reinhardt again, right? That's also important. Our win condition is always going to be dependent on the enemy team. So whenever you see a new character, just quickly remind yourself, oh, they have a Reinhardt now. You know, that changes how I need to think about Shatter. More importantly, this is a recent swap, which means you'll obviously have your Shatter earlier than him, which we can abuse. Okay. Ooh, that was a really good Shatter, but I don't think it matters. Yeah, see, so this is what I mentioned earlier with, like, borrowing a win. So right here, the enemy team just used 4 ultimates, which means they basically, like, borrowed this win, but since there is no team fight after this, it doesn't really matter. Whenever you're fighting against a massive spawn advantage in its last fight, so for example on second point of 2CP or right here on Icon Vault when you're finishing towards the end, the most important part to beat their spawn advantage is to just stack a bunch of ultimates. So the enemy team getting using all 4 ultimates is actually the correct play, whereas normally on any other part of the map it would have been a huge throw.
I mean, they somehow fuck it up.
That is truly magical. Yeah. I have no idea how, but you know, sometimes you need to take those free wins. We have our Shatter soon. The enemy Rhine is dead, so you can afford to be aggressive here. That's nice. This is really aggressive. See, so right here, our win condition is our Shatter. You just want to play safe. Don't even play aggressive. See, like right here, I wouldn't even go in. You know, just chill. A high-level Reinhardt, when he sees you play aggressive like that, sometimes they just fucking run past you and then ult your entire backline. So it's better to err on the side of caution. Okay, we have our Shatter. Our win condition is clear. The enemy team is still not particularly easy to shatter, so shattering a single person is probably the play. Given the enemy team comp, what kind of shatter can you visualize here?
One on their Reinhardt or one of the Genji Mini Blades?
Exactly. Spot on. But again, you know, it's one thing to know that here, where you can see the enemy ultimates, the important question is, are you thinking about this kind of stuff in-game? The enemy Genji is dead, very good, so you can save your Shatter for last fight. Oi, oi, oi. This is actually really good. They kind of threw. So yeah, this is really good because you have a massive spawn advantage, and the enemy Rhine used his Shatter alone, which, again, using one ultimate here just isn't enough. So now you can look for a Shatter with basically 0 pressure, which is really, really nice. They also use Mines, which doesn't do anything. And there's the Genji Dragon Blade. Oh! That Shatter is good enough. 2 kills. Now you should be able to win off of spawn advantage. There you go. That was played really nice. To be fair, it was really fucking misplayed by the enemy team as well, but you did play that good. So some positive reinforcement at the end there.
So in summary, Shatter is your win condition. It's how you win games as Reinhardt, how aggressive or defensive you play, which is something I definitely struggled on throughout, depends upon a few factors. How much armor you have to take damage, how much shield you have to soak up damage, who has the Shatter advantage, who has the numbers advantage, what the enemy win condition is, for example Nanoblade, and who has the spawn advantage. Also make sure you Firestrike Corners, because corners are the hotspots of the map, but that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below, and until next time.